Hippopotamus.
Orangutan.
And I was gonna say bonobo.
What's your spirit animal? Oh my god. Bonobo's a weird spirit animal. If Ed Sheeran was reincarnated as an animal, what would it be? No. Name an animal that you find so icky that even the thought of touching it gives you the creeps. That's weird too. Hey there, welcome to Board Game Barrister, our local game shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm Andy, and I'm here with Elizabeth, Glenn, and Gordon, and today we're talking dumb questions to ask your friends, a game where each round one guesser is going to try to guess what question everybody else is answering. Let's get into it. Welcome to Dumb Questions to Ask Your Friends, a clever and super simple social party game for up to 8 players. This is a game where all the players at the table except for one guesser are going to get to see a question for the round. They're going to say their answers to that question out loud to the guesser for the round, and then we're going to shuffle it in with 4 other questions for a total of 5. It's the guesser's job to figure out which one of those 5 is the right one and rank it as the most likely to be the real question. That's how they get the most points. So to set up the game, we're going to put the game box in the center of the table. We're going to choose a guesser for our first round, put our little rank tracker board out in front of them, and we're ready to get started. Now our guesser each round is going to get us started by choosing a category for the question they'd like. The game has 6 categories, and those are famous people, objects, food, numbers, players, and that's going to be questions about the players at the table, and animals. Let's say our first guesser wanted to go with food. They're going to close their eyes, and somebody else at the table is going to grab 5 question cards out of the food category. With the guesser's eyes still closed, they'll flip the top card in that category, which is going to be our correct question for this round. If you had to wear food as clothing, what would you pick? Now, everybody at the table is going to look at this card silently and come up with an answer that they think is accurate. You're not trying to pull one over on the guesser in this game or anything like that. You're just trying to provide them information and see if they can figure out the right answer. So off the top of my head, I'm gonna say pita bread. Somebody else at the table might say lettuce, and maybe somebody else would say fruit roll-ups. Now we've said all this aloud, so all our guesser knows is those 3 answers to the question. We're gonna flip that card back over, shuffle it back in with the others, and then hand this stack to our guesser. Now, with only pita bread, lettuce, and fruit roll-ups to go on, they're going to start flipping these cards one at a time and deciding where they think they fall in order of least likely to be the correct question to most likely to be the correct question. So they might flip the top one, which is, what's a food that wouldn't taste good deep fried? This is immediately tough for them. I can't imagine any of those 3 foods tasting that great deep fried, and they might think this is pretty likely. Maybe they would go ahead and just put that as their 4 because they think it fits really well. And this is the tricky part of the game, is that they only get to look at one card at a time, and they have to commit to a number. They cannot change their answer on this question now. This is locked in as their 4. The next one is our actual correct question. If you had to pick a food to wear as clothing, what would you pick? Maybe they don't quite understand our answers, but they don't think they're totally outlandish, so they might say this is worth a 2. What food would you rather eat raw than cooked? Here we see pita bread kind of break down. Just eating raw dough wouldn't be great, and they might decide that this one is definitely not the one. And scoring is extremely simple in this game. They get as many points as where they put the correct question. So they ranked it as a number 2, which means they're going to get 2 points for the round, and we're off to the next player as guesser. If you've got 3 to 5 players at the table, everybody's going to be the guesser twice, which gives you 2 chances to score. And with 6 to 8 players, everybody's going to do it once. They clearly put this round limit in just to make sure that the game didn't take forever, but there's going to be times when you want to just keep playing and keep going around the table, and you should just do that. You can keep score if you want to, or you can skip it.
So what I really like about this game is, instead of being a game where you're answering a question perhaps about yourself, where all of the attention is on you and all the pressure is on you, this is a game where you're answering how you would answer. It's not about being with the crowd, it's not about having the answer that everyone else is going to like, or being judged the best or the worst. That is not the point. It's just a slight twist on the how well do you know each other game.
And something I really like about the questions that you're answering, I have a strong dislike of games that are forcing you to reveal secret information about yourself. There are games that do that. Some people love them. That's great. I personally find those distasteful. And the questions that you're answering here aren't that. Again, most of them are factual. You're just giving an answer about something in the world. And even the ones that might be about your opinion, the ones that we saw weren't about something secret to you. So I really like the content and the questions in here, and the mechanic of providing your answer that then other people are trying to rank is really, really well done.
Scrubber sponges.
Uncrustables.
Book.
The guesser has an online shop. What objects do they sell? Well, it's not that. Name an object you think is incredibly overpriced. Wow. What's an old object you own that you refuse to throw away? It can't be Uncrustables. Name an object you'd like to receive as a gift this year. And what's the last object you bought? Well, there you are.
That's the one.
You did it.
Hey.
That's the one. Yeah, when I was first looking at this game, I was like, super great concept. Does it actually work? Because I was worried that the questions wouldn't feel similar enough to actually throw the guesser off. If you got random questions about, school buses and random questions about food and then other random questions about animal all mixed into the same group, you'd be like, well, you all named animals, so I'm going to go ahead and say the animal-themed one. But once I saw that they'd actually split it into categories, so all the questions would have similar answers come out of them, and you had to assess within that category, I was like, yeah, it's locked in. They nailed that part of it, and that was the important part that had to come together, so I really appreciate that they did that.
I just really like the whole mechanic of the questions are revealed at random and you have to place them when you reveal them. I don't get to lay out all 5 and then go, oh, well, it's obviously this one. It's the, how likely is this one to be the right one? Not knowing what the next 4 are going to be, am I like, this obviously can't be right, I'll put this at 0. Or this is obviously right, I'm going to put it at 4, not knowing what the rest of the ones are.
Yeah, it was good tension.
It is good. It creates good tension.
I really liked the reveal of it. The people who are answering the question, they only saw the question that they're answering. They don't know what the other 4 are. And so seeing how those other questions come up, you're like, oh, it turns out that the way we answered, it could have been good for that question too. That was really kind of fun. Or oh, well, clearly not that with the answers that we gave, right? So that was fun to see how that arranged as a not being the guesser. You were still invested in how those cards got revealed.
It was like a tiny bit of a bluffing element because you have to try and keep a straight face to not let on that you've never seen that question before. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's worth calling out that this game, in the scale of social party games, definitely is on the calmer side. It's not a raucous, cracking up constantly, making fun of each other, drinking game style thing or whatever else. This one would lean really well into just a really solid conversation starter, or one for people who don't like for their party games to get too out of hand and want something that's nice and social but ends there.
If you like the type of game that sparks some conversations, what about Don Cheadle makes a good cup of coffee?
Something about his vibe,
My answer is Pedro Pascal.
Don Cheadle.
Martha Stewart.
Which famous person would probably make the best cup of coffee? Oh, God, I'm either going to get 4 points or 0.
And taking a look at how many players can play this game and what ages we'd recommend, it goes from 3 to 8 players officially on the box. We'd probably stay away from a 3-player variant of this game. It'd be doable, but you'd only be getting 2 answers each round and then trying to figure out which question it was based on only 2 questions, and it just doesn't quite feel like a fit. That's kind of squeezing. And then there isn't an actual age recommendation anywhere on the box or the rulebook for this game, but we think it would be really solid, even for families. We didn't find anything inappropriate in the box. You could give it a skim through and make sure that makes sense for the group you're playing with as well. But easy game for ages 10 and up, probably still okay for like 7 or 8 and up. Beyond that, just give a look at the cards first and make sure that they're all stuff that the younger players would know what they're asking, and then you're off to the races. Alrighty, that does it for Dumb Questions to Ask Your Friends. Thank you so much for joining us for this one. We had a really fun time with it. We hope you had fun watching, and as always, you can leave a comment if you got any questions. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more videos every week, and check out our online store where you'll find this one and a ton of other cool stuff. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next time.